Anthony, you're always wrong about things. You use your little logical games and your 200 IQ points to make us all feel like idiots. But in reality, you're the idiot, because you don't pay attention to results. All you have is your logical premise, and whatever heinous and unethical results may come about because of your little logical games, you don't care, as long as the logic is sound, whatever that means.
I fail to see what the problem is with my results. There's nothing wrong with offering a person a choice where one of the choices is completely an acceptable choice. It's not a bad result. It's logically a better result than they're actually offered.
Let's remind the viewers what the logical choice was.
Well, in the actual case, the logical choice was between life in prison and castration.
This is a hypothetical case.
Yes, and I suggested a hypothetical which is equivalent.
So wait, the judge gave a convicted rapist the ability to choose his punishment, either life in prison or
surgical castration and 10 years of probation.
And you said this is fine.
And I think this is fine, whether or not castration is cruel and unusual, because life in prison is not. And a choice between life in prison and castration, that choice can't be any worse, than just putting him in prison for life. It just can't be, because if he thinks that going to prison for life is, better, then he'll just go to prison for life. He can still choose that.
But Anthony, by that logic, let's say you have a court that's giving a parking ticket fine, and someone gets a parking ticket, and the court gives them the opportunity to choose between paying $25 or being put in prison for life and sodomized on regular intervals.
What's wrong with that? They don't have to be put in prison for life and sodomized on regular intervals. The only way that they're going to choose that is if they'd actually prefer that. Maybe
so
they really
that's a good choice.
Well, I'm not going to personally take it. I
believe
think
that's
it's kind
a valid
of a
thing
stupid
for a court
choice,
to do.
But I don't see what's wrong with it. It's not harming the person.
So you believe that it is a valid action?
Yes. It is a valid action for a court to give a person who got a parking ticket the option of life imprisonment with sodomy. Or any constitutional punishment for a parking ticket, including the fine.
Okay.
The $25 fine, whatever.
But by giving the person one choice that's way out there, that only a crazy person would choose it, the court is essentially forcing the hand of all non-crazy people, and the only people who would choose a crazy choice are crazy people.
So the court is forcing the hand of all non-crazy people to do what they can constitutionally be made to do. I don't see any problem with this forcing, because after all, we're presuming that the fine is constitutional. And then you're saying that somehow the only people who would choose this are crazy. But presumably the only reason you think that these people are crazy is because they would make this choice. And
yes, I'm defining a crazy choice.
It's completely circular. You're defining the class of people who should not be allowed to make this choice in terms of the people who are actually making this choice. You're saying, look, if you make this choice, you're crazy, but crazy people shouldn't be able to make choices. And the only ground of your craziness is that they're making this choice. And, basically you just don't agree with these people's decision. You just think they're unreasonable, and you just don't like the choices they make.
I don't like the logic that you're basing your conclusions on.
I don't see the connection between not liking my logic and not liking their choices. Their choices are choices. They're that person's business. It's that person's right to choose how that person lives, and maybe that person really likes being sodomized.
It's time for a final thought. Lean into the camera and tell the viewer your final thought. Come closer.
My final thought is Matt Schwartz should never be elected president, and if he runs, I will campaign against him.
Yeah, and isn't it true, Mr. Ritz, you only feel this way because if I'm elected president, I will never appoint you to any judicial position?
That's one very, very good reason that Matthew Schwartz should never be elected president, because I would be a fantastic judge. But another very important reason is that Matthew Schwartz
is Jewish. Is that it?
Yes. I'm an anti-Semite. Now you've got me on tape saying I'm anti-Semite, and I'm sure you'll play this at my confirmation hearing because you want me not to confirm.
Victory is mine!
No, it's because Matthew Schwartz is not a very logical person and doesn't seem to care.
Thank you, Anthony. You are excused.